In the vast expanse of the cosmos, the Argonians, a highly advanced alien race, had been quietly observing Earth from afar. For centuries, they watched with a mixture of amusement and dismay as humans clumsily navigated their way through technological advancements and social upheavals. To the Argonians, humanity was a paradoxical spectacle, capable of profound kindness and brutal conflict, soaring creativity and destructive folly. The Argonians noted with particular concern the activities of the world's largest and most industrialized nations. They observed with a growing sense of unease and frustration as the dominions of these nations spread far and wide, leaving a trail of smoke and debris in their wake. The countries in question were not just any nations, but the true titans of our world: the United States, China, Russia, and India. Nations whose names alone commanded influence, nations whose economic muscle played a crucial role on the world stage. These gargantuan entities, these juggernauts of progress, were not just formidable in terms of size, but also in terms of their technological prowess. The advent of the Industrial Revolution had propelled them into the limelight, turning them into beacons of innovation and progress. Each had its own strengths: the United States with its Silicon Valley, China with its manufacturing hubs, Russia with its vast natural resources, and India with its burgeoning IT sector. Yet their successes came at a great cost. The relentless pursuit of growth, the insatiable hunger for progress, the never-ending race towards a brighter future was taking its toll on the very planet they all called home. And the Argonians, ever the observers, could not stand idly by. They observed, with a sense of impending doom, the dark side of this relentless pursuit of growth. The Industrial Revolution that had once been their greatest achievement was now turning into their greatest nemesis. Factories out thick plumes of smoke, clouding the skies with a dark, ominous haze. The once verdant forests were being replaced by concrete jungles, the chirping of birds replaced by the deafening roar of machines. The rivers, once clear and sparkling, were now murky and lifeless, their waters tainted with chemicals. The relentless pursuit of progress was leading to a trail of destruction, a path of devastation. The emissions from these nations were staggering, dwarfing those of the rest of the world combined. The air had become thick with pollutants, the atmosphere choked with carbon emissions. The very air they breathed was turning into poison. The very land they stood upon was being reduced to rubble. The earth, the cradle of human civilization, was being pushed to the brink. Yet the irony was not lost, Argonians. These nations, capable of such extraordinary feats of ingenuity and innovation, were the very same ones that were pushing their home to the brink. The ones with the power to create were also the ones with the power to destroy. The ones with the knowledge to save were also the ones with the ignorance to devastate. It was a tragic paradox, a harsh reality that they had to face. The Argonians noted all this and more. They noted the unchecked pollution, the widespread habitat destruction, the relentless exploitation of natural resources. They noted the indifference, the apathy, the obsession with progress at any cost. And they noted, with a sense of chilling finality, the stark contradiction. The contradiction was stark. Nations capable of extraordinary technological feats were also the ones pushing the planet to the brink of ecological collapse. Amid this global crisis, a different narrative unfolded in quieter, greener parts of the world. In Canada and Brazil, governments and citizens alike had taken a decidedly different approach. These countries had integrated respect for nature into their policies and innovations, demonstrating that development did not have to come at the expense of the planet's health. Their efforts showed in the preserved expanses of the Amazon rainforest and the clean air above the Canadian Rockies. The absurdity of the situation was not lost on the Argonians, who had initially mocked the human race for its short-sightedness. They found it increasingly hard to laugh as they watched Earth's mightiest nations contribute most heavily to its ruin, while the less powerful, like Brazil and Canada, took up the mantle of guardianship. When Brazilian scientists discovered a groundbreaking compound in the Amazon that could reverse environmental damage, the Argonians were forced to reassess their view of humanity. Here was a clear sign that Earthlings could indeed make significant strides towards sustainability and restoration. As the years passed, the Argonians watched in disbelief as the nations of Earth, driven by greed and power, began to turn on each other. The once unified front now fractured into pieces, each trying to outdo the other. The blue-green planet that they had been observing was now marred by flashes of fiery destruction and plumes of smoke. Wars broke out across the globe, fueled by resources and territorial disputes. The hunger for the newly discovered compound from the Amazon was insatiable. Countries were torn apart, and the death toll rose as battles raged on land, sea, and air. The peace that the Argonians had once admired seemed to be nothing more than a fleeting moment in the chaotic history of humanity. The world's largest nations, once pioneers in technology and science, now used their technological prowess for destruction rather than preservation. The same minds that had discovered the compound to reverse environmental damage were now designing weapons of mass destruction. The irony was not lost on the Argonians. Once concerned about the fate of Earth, the Argonians now laughed at the spectacle of humanity's self-destruction. They watched as the planet they had hoped to learn from was being torn apart by its own inhabitants. The Argonians began to question if Earthlings were indeed capable of change, or if they were destined to be their own downfall. Amidst the chaos and destruction, one figure stood out to the Argonians, a human named Leon. Unlike the power-hungry leaders and warmongers, Leon was a scientist, a humble man dedicated to peace and environmental preservation. He'd been one of the pioneers in discovering the compound in the Amazon, a discovery he had hoped would unite mankind, not tear it apart. Leon tried tirelessly to mediate the conflicts, to promote understanding among the nations. He pleaded for peace, for the use of the compound to heal the planet rather than cause further damage. He urged his fellow humans to see beyond their borders, to understand that the survival of their species depended on unity and cooperation, not on division and war. However, Leon's pleas fell on deaf ears. His fellow humans, blinded by their thirst for power and control, ridiculed his ideals. They saw him as a dreamer, an unrealistic optimist who failed to understand the harsh realities of their world. But the Argonians saw something else in Leon. They saw hope. They saw a glimmer of the peace-loving, innovative species they had initially observed. Leon, the lone voice of reason, was the last hope of Earth. As the world around him crumbled, he continued his struggle, a beacon of light in the engulfing darkness. The Argonians watched, hoping against hope that his message would resonate before it was too late. The Argonians, having seen enough, decided to intervene. They had observed the self-destruction of a species, the downfall of nations, and the disregard for the precious planet these beings inhabited. But amidst the chaos, they saw a beacon of hope, Leon. Leon, who stood for unity, peace, and preservation. Leon, who had the potential to restore humanity to its former glory. In a decision that defied their usual non-interference policy, the Argonians chose to save Leon. A beam of light descended from their ship, enveloping Leon, and in a blink of an eye, he was gone from the Earth, leaving the rest of humanity to its fate. The Argonians believed in Leon, believed in his ideals, and hoped that with him, they could help humanity start anew. Perhaps, one day, they could return to Earth, with Leon leading a new generation of humans, a generation that valued peace over power, unity over division, and preservation over destruction. With Leon, the Argonians left Earth, hoping to one day return and help humanity start anew. They had made their choice, a choice that could change the course of humanity, a choice that held the potential to save a planet.